Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful and personal story about mental illness and what's known as ambiguous loss. This all comes from part 3 of Amanda Lepera's memoir, Losing Dad.
Wow. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That one sentence from Joseph's daughter, Jackie, it captures everything, doesn't it? The absolute heartbreak of a family watching someone they love just disappear, long before they're actually gone. It's this idea of grieving for someone who is still physically there. Okay, let's get into the story.
So, the final really tragic chapter for Joseph and his family, it all kicks off in 1999. This is when his life and theirs just takes an unimaginable turn.
In September of '99, after his delusions have been getting worse and worse, Joseph just leaves his wife Hilda completely stranded in West Virginia. He takes off in the family car and eventually surfaces in Chicago, choosing to live on the streets. Just gone. And his time on the streets is, well, it's terrifying. The book talks about him being brutally attacked by drug dealers. His hallucinations get more and more intense to the point where he's convinced he's a prophet from God. And this complete break from reality, it makes it impossible for his parents to get through to him no matter how hard they try. Now, Joseph's break from reality didn't just tear his family apart. It also led to this absolutely shocking financial decision that pretty much cemented the whole catastrophe.
And you have to understand, he wasn't just some casual saver. The book really emphasizes his lifelong financial discipline. This was a man who had a solid plan for his future.
He had more than $250,000 saved up in his 401k. I mean, that's a testament to decades of hard work, right?
Then, in late 1999, Joseph does the unthinkable. He drains his entire life savings, the whole 401k, gone. Why? To fund this delusional world tour as a self-proclaimed prophet. A single decision that just completely obliterates his financial future. And you can really hear that raw frustration in his son's words.
This timeline really just captures the pure chaos of those first few years. He goes from being homeless to liquidating his entire future to being found a year later nearly frozen to death on a park bench in Chicago. And then just silence. 2 full years of nothing, which, left his family fearing the absolute worst.
So after those 2 years of total silence, contact is suddenly made again in 2002. But this just kicks off a brand new, painful cycle of hope and then crushing despair for his kids.
His daughter Amanda's interactions with him during this time, they show this painful split. There were these brief moments, these glimmers of the caring dad she remembered. Sharing jokes, giving his son some money, but those moments were always overshadowed by the paranoia of his illness, which would lead him to accuse his own family of stealing from him. It's just devastating.
So yeah, this period wasn't a recovery at all. It was just this turbulent, chaotic series of events. He tries living with his daughter, but it just ends in conflict. He has a massive life-threatening heart attack, but even in the hospital, he refuses to see his own wife. It all just kept hammering home how far gone he really was.
As Joseph's illness just kept going, the family was forced to make these incredibly tough decisions, not just emotionally, but financially too, really trying to protect what little was left.
And then in 2004, the family gets hit with another blow. Both of Joseph's parents pass away, just months apart. And the grief was just compounded by Joseph's shocking reaction. He actually went to the hospital to see his dying mother, only to tell her she was damned for not accepting God.
His parents, fearing Joseph would just blow through their life savings the same way he blew through his own, took a really crucial step right before they died. They set up what's called a financial trust.
So the trust basically protected Joseph from himself. But this practical, necessary step led to another really painful discovery. While they were sorting through their grandparents' things, the kids found these old notes, and they realized their father had been financially manipulating his own elderly parents for years. It just adds this whole other layer of betrayal to an already awful tragedy.
All of this, it all leads to the final and really haunting chapter of the family's contact with Joseph.
Okay, so it's December 2008. Joseph calls his daughter Amanda. He's complaining about chest pains, which is super serious, right, given his recent heart surgery. But instead of getting help, he tells her that God has rebuked him for eating and has told him to fast instead.
And then, out of nowhere, there's this rare moment of just total clarity. He tells her how much he loves his children and how proud he is of them. It's this shocking glimpse of the father they once knew, and, well, it really feels like he's saying a final goodbye.
And then he says that. With that prophetic warning, he hangs up. And the phone calls, the emails, the postcards, everything that had been this sporadic but vital link to him, it all just stopped. For good.
That was it. The last time his family ever heard from him. He just vanished, completely. And he left them in this painful state of limbo, a kind of grief that has no resolution. This is the very definition of ambiguous loss. You're grieving someone who is physically gone, but psychologically, they're always present. And that state, it raises a really powerful question.
And that's a question with no easy answer, isn't it? It just leaves this massive void where a father, a husband, and a son used to be.